how's it going? And welcome back to ANZCAR for the ANZCAR, ANZCAR Nationwide Series. That's it, Nationwide Series here at the Dover, Dover International Speedway in the 87 cars. So very different. You will notice I've got a new rig set up. That's why I've been away for a while. And let's get out and head out for a qualifying session, shall we? So things are very different now, obviously. New racing rig set up, obviously, does change things a little bit. I don't currently have the H pattern installed. I need to get a cable for that still.
Green, green, green. Okay, here comes your first time lap. One more lap.
Completely cocked that one up. Oh well, we'll see how it goes. Probably not going to get us too far
Checkered flag, checkered flag.
Yeah, so obviously a new rig setup, new wheel, Thrustmaster THX P360, I think it is, or 380 or something. Actually found the whole rig for sale in cash converters for $1,400. So see, it's got the H pattern gearbox. It's just missing the actual the link cable for it, and also the plate for the H pattern. But that's fine; it still works without it. But everything came with it, and quite happy with that to buy. Unfortunately, when I bought it, the minute I bought it, pretty much, my computer decided to cack itself. So I've been without a computer for a couple of days, which has been absolutely wonderful, as you can imagine. Let's see how we're doing in results. Okay, we're off pace, but not too badly at the moment. That's okay. We're in P7. That's midfield. That's where I want to be anyway. So this has a lot more force feedback to it. It's a lot more sensitive. It's a lot different to what I'm used to driving with the G27. It's a huge upgrade. So that's thrown me out a little bit. Get some water quickly. This is my second race with the wheel. So I raced Monday and it didn't go too badly. I finished in P8, but a couple of laps down in the truck series. It's a new season for trucks. So it's getting used to things, and it's getting used to a new position as well, because obviously I'm sitting a bit further back now. I'm sitting in an actual racing seating position, so that's very different to me, because I used to be on the desk and it was a very uncomfortable position. So this is a lot more comfortable for longer race periods, although I am finding my back doesn't particularly like it at the moment. It's just getting comfortable, that's it, you know, it's tricky. But once you get there, I think it'll be a much better. I'm finding, you know, it's a lot easier using this. It's a lot better, of course, than my G27. But obviously losing all of my, well, everything. I lost 2 hard drives, so I lost all of my settings. I lost everything. I lost my operating system. I lost a motherboard. I lost 16 gig of RAM. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. The only thing that remains from my old computer now is my graphics card. That's the only thing that didn't die on me. So it was a rough couple of days, but I've got a new GPU, got a new motherboard, I've got 32 gig of RAM now. You know, it's a much better system for running things at least, and obviously new wheel and all that kind of stuff. So good in that respect. So quite happy to have some nice new gear and things like that, or new for me at least. And going a little bit more serious for sim racing as well, because obviously this makes a big difference for everything.
One lap to green. You'll be lining up on the inside. Pit road is closed right now. Catch the 62 car.
So a bit of difference on pedals as well, because obviously I don't have a preloaded cell in the pedal anymore. And what that means is the brake pedal's a bit more squishy. So I've got more play in it basically, which is not a good thing, surprisingly. You want to have less play in it. A longer brake pedal is harder to use than a shorter brake pedal.
About to go green, stay focused.
Okay, and we're going to go green, so
The
away
pace
we
car is
go.
off, be ready. Green, green, green. Outside. Stay low, there is a car on the high side. Clear up top. Outside. Still there. Clear outside.
So Dover's a very tricky track. It's a very fast track. It's kind of, to me, it's similar to Bristol. In fact, it's a very small super speedway. But obviously it's a bit faster than Bristol, a bit bigger than Bristol, of course. So I'm going to try and keep my tyres relatively alive for this one. That's what I want to try and do. So just rolling in on the brake a little bit. Not pushing too hard on the accelerator on the exit. Try and keep this low line if we can. This is where the most rubber is on the track, because it's obviously more of a concrete asphalt track. It's not a very high grip track, obviously. So it's very easy to rip your tyres up here if you get wheel spin, if you go wide, if you've got a lot of slip. So you just want to try and avoid that as much as you can. Obviously avoid the walls as well.
Car outside. Stay low, there is a car on the high side. Outside, clear.
It's very easy to chew your tyres up in this car as well, because obviously it's got so much horsepower underneath it. Very easy to get spin off the corners. Also, because it weighs more than a more than a small country, obviously the more slide you got through, lateral slide you got through the car, the more you're going to eat up those tyres, of course. We just want to keep it relatively under control here. Obviously 130 laps as well, so a bit of a long race. Lockie in front of us has got the world's widest car at the moment.
Outside. Clear outside.
Bit of a dive there. Bit of a dive bomb there, but Lockie gave us room, so thanks so much, Lachlan.
You're in fifth.
Obviously a lot more force feedback with this wheel as well, so that has been a big change, something that I've really been struggling to get used to, because obviously requires a bit more upper body force, upper body strength as well, core strength, things like that, especially in the position you're sitting. So I have found that I've been getting a little bit of hand cramps and stuff like that. But it is a good workout, so that's something. I'm going to get off the exit a little bit lower there onto the start-finish straight, just because there's a bit of a bump on the outside there, which can be a bit nasty when you hit it. Tends to chuck you up into the wall a little bit. It's more of a dip than a bump, I guess. Guys out ahead of us are starting to check out a little bit.
Car outside. Still there. Stay low, there is a car on the high side. Stay low. Outside, clear. Car outside. Still there, hold your line. Clear.
Obviously trying to check things as I drive is not easy for me still.
Car outside. Stay low, there is a car on the high side. Clear. Car outside. Stay low. Keep low. Still there. Outside is clear.
Lost a few positions that time around. I think I've just started to wear my tyres a little bit still. Feels like my rear tyres are starting to give up a little bit of the grip that I prefer to have. And the experienced guys just gobbled me up there straight away. So we got some short run pace again, so that's some good news. Seems I'm struggling with the long run again, so which is not completely unexpected in all honesty. Just try and cool those tyres down a little bit, let them ease off a tad. And we'll try and get some life back to them. As these guys fight as well, we should hopefully get a little bit closer to them again as they start to hemorrhage time as they battle for position. Unfortunately, I missed Talladega because of my computer issues, which I was most upset about because that's a track that I actually would prefer to run in these cars. I feel much more confident on a slightly higher speedway rather than these short track ovals. The short tracks I just struggle with a bit.
Car stop down low. The yellow flag is out. They want you in single file. Closed. Pit road is closed. Catch start 10. Car. Pass the pace car. Catch start 10. Car.
portions out, so I'm going to definitely...
I'm sorry everyone, I overdrove there.
Moto just obviously going around a bit, unfortunately, sadly for him.
The pit road's open.
I'm gonna park it here, Josh. I'll try and get to the pits as quick as I can, mate. 10-4.
Catch start 10, car.
I'm going to come into the pit
Catch the
lane,
pace
obviously.
car.
Try not to speed in the pit lane. We'll get some fresh tyres on, some more fuel. Because yeah, that right front and right rear was going. So yeah, we're pushing a bit too much on the right still. We need to be a little bit tamer.
Go, go, go! Line up, single file. Catch start 9, car.
We're pushing a bit too hard, a bit too early, obviously. Despite not feeling like it, thought I was actually going relatively to pace in all honesty, but obviously I was just pushing a bit too much on the right. So...
Catch start 9, car.
I wonder if I brake bias back a little bit too, that might help us a tad. Yeah, we're just pushing a bit too hard on the right side there, obviously, and chewing the tyres up a bit too quickly, I think, and that started losing us a lot of pace, so maybe this time we'll just go a little bit easier and just try and let it settle in a little bit easier so we can get a longer run, obviously. Can use this to actually relax the arms a little bit and have a swig of water and things like that. One of the things I didn't expect with this wheel, because it's a suede cover, I think I might actually have to get some actual gloves for it, because I'm finding, you know, gripping it quite tightly and things like that, you get a little bit of burn and stuff like that, so I might actually have to get some racing gloves, which makes me a bit wanky, but it is needed in all honesty, because it is very much like driving a real car, as strange as it sounds. You know, the G27, sorry, is a bit more, it's got the lever around it, it's a bit softer, a bit more forgiving on the hand, I'd say. This one, you know, it's got a nice grip, it's abrasive, so you can grip the wheel, but you can't let it slide through your hands as easily. So yeah, obviously a whole new operating system was fun, and I've had to redo all my settings, and I lost a lot of my video effects work, my video editing equipment and software, just the actual like videos I've done and end splash screens and thumbnails and old videos I had as, you know, backups of things and stuff like that. So I've lost all of that. I lost about, I think it was 5 terabytes worth of data I lost in the end, which was horrific. I do have a backup with one on at least, but it's broken. But it's only the SATA connection that's broken, so it is
One lap to green.
salvageable.
Line up on the outside.
But it's one of those. It's salvageable, but it's going to be a bit of a pain to do. But I should be able to get some stuff from there, some photos and things I think I've got on there still. But obviously it was quite disheartening losing all that stuff, losing everything there, and losing a lot of bits and bobs really. And I lost my backups as well because my backups were on an SSD that got fried. So we think it was actually the PSU that died, the power supply unit that died, and that fried 2 hard drives. It fried my 2 terabyte. No, 2 terabyte or 3 terabyte? Yeah, 3. No, it's 4 terabyte. Sorry, 4 terabyte Barracuda regular hard drive, and it also fried my 1 terabyte.
About to go green. Stay focused. The pace car is off.
Western
Be ready.
Digital SSD. So yeah, it was annoying. Okay, back to racing we go.
Green, green, green. Inside, clear.
Don't want to do that. That was a fairly hefty contact with the wall.
Inside. Clear.
So the exit of turn 4 is quite treacherous in all honesty. It's been catching me out all day. Just be so careful on the exit of the corners really. That's the part where you're going to lose it because the car just goes a little bit unsettled there. Might try just lifting off a little bit as we get out of the corner just to see how that goes. Using a fair bit of time doing that, so not really working for me there. Be a bit gentler on the throttle obviously, that should help with our tyre wear a little bit. obviously moving that brake bias back as well changes how things feel on the car. Gotta stop hitting that wall, Carl. Entering a bit too quickly, I think, at the moment. That's causing me a little bit of trouble on the exit. I'm getting a little bit too pinchy mid-corner. That's better. That's what I want to do. Get back in the rhythm now, and that's sometimes hard to do. Also, I've got to admit, my upper back is starting to hurt quite a lot right now, which is not fun. It's funny, you can test and test and test to your heart's content and do other racing series and things like that. But it's not until you do an actual race that you notice these things. You notice things that aren't working for you. And definitely noticing that my position isn't working for me right now, just my upper back. I might need a cushion or something just back there just to help a little bit. Also, as daft as it sounds, my screen's a bit further away in this position as well, and that's made a bit of difference. It's sort of been fine for other things I've been driving in, but I'm especially finding for ovals, I'm just misjudging the exit of corners a little bit. because it takes longer for your eyes to actually flick between aspects of the screen as well, which is something I didn't really think of. But it's very hard. I actually have to take my eyes off the road a lot more to look at my my HUD, my dashboard stuff down in the right hand corner. And it takes a bit longer for that to go back to the actual car, to the screen. It's, you know, a split second sort of thing, but that's the difference between, well, a couple of, you know, about half a second almost, you know, that can be a lot of time gained or an accident not had. Ocon in Formula 1, he made a mistake just looking at a car that was coming to pass him at the Formula 1 race at Spain this year, and he just looked into his left-hand mirror, and he had just lost attention from the car in front of him for about, you know, it would have been about 0.2 of a second maybe, and came up on Magnussen and had to brake hard and then went nose first into the wall. And you know, that's the thing, is it's literally anything you can move around or make it so it's a little bit less distracting, a little bit easier to look at, it can make a big difference for actual performance. So I think I'm going to have to begrudgingly get a third monitor with a monitor stand to get everything working exactly right, because it's just a little bit struggle where it is at the moment. And I thought, well, I'll probably be okay, should be okay, you know, sitting in a relatively good position for it, but definitely in this race I'm noticing it a lot of how it is affecting me. Just with that little nerf of the wall there again, it's just that thing of me looking to the right hand side of my car, my car even, and I'm not finding that with ease. I'm not looking
We're halfway in the race.
to that side of the car quite as much, and it is affecting me. Caution would be really nice around about now, preferably one that's not caused by me. If you are down in Australia as well and you do want to race these, check out the ANZCAR Facebook page, ANZCAR CAR. We race every Wednesday, it's open to all to race. Bit of a feeder series slash different series to race in. We have the Monday nights for the truck series, of course, which is the actual proper feeder series for the ANZCAR Cup, which is on Thursdays, which is some of Australia's best oval races, racing in the NASCAR Cup cars. A lot of the guys you see here tonight will be racing, pretty much all of them actually, other than myself, who will be commentating. Starting to hit those rights again pretty hard, I can just tell, because I'm just feeling that scrub mid-corner. You can see that, you hear that tyre screech and squeal. You can see a little bit of tyre being left behind you, leaving that little black mark behind you. and the car just feels a bit more of a handful as well, so you sort of feel that with the car, there's less grip going into the corner. You feel the car just wanting to understeer a lot. You're having to lift off more, brake more, turn the wheel more as well. You sort of feel that as well. It's almost like muscle memory when you're steering. It's this thing of, you know how far you need to turn the wheel to get around the corner, and when all of a sudden you need to turn it more, your brain goes, that's not right, but I'm needing to do a full half crank now to get round the corner. Got the leaders coming up on us as well. The tyres dropping off this much. Because yeah, I've overcooked the tyre basically as well, so. I'm coming for a stop now, which, if we get a caution, which will happen no doubt, it's going to affect me. If we go caution free, might be in an okay position. Depends if everybody else needs to stop as well and how much time I can actually gain on fresh tyres. So I imagine most people will probably try and stay out. So yeah, you can see the right rear there. The right front's much better this time round, but the right rear is completely gone.
Go, go, go!
So we're going 2 laps down on most of the field, well, on the front runners at least. If they pit, we might be able to get our laps back. Depends how much time we can gain on them, and if they do pit again. We've got Josh Walden coming in, so a few people are pitting around this time as well, so that's good news for me at least. So I might be able to actually gain some time on a few people here. Just being on those slightly fresher tyres. We're still going to be a lap down from the leaders, but we might gain some time on the people that are in front of us at least.
Outside. Clear outside.
I think everybody was feeling the same about their tyres, so that makes me feel a little bit better, obviously, being able to keep out there and keep with everybody else. Obviously a little bit of an inexperience because I can't quite keep the tyres going as long as others can. And that's just something you've got to learn and get a feel to, get a grip to as well, get used to the car, get used to the different tracks. Unfortunately, the different ovals can be very difficult for that, so it can be very tricky to get it perfectly right. Right, Lachlan's got his tyres up to temperature now. I think he pitted last time round.
The leader's pitting now.
So obviously the guys I'm racing have got a lap on me, which is not ideal, but kind of expecting it. I really wasn't on the pace. And I was pretty much hemorrhaging time at the end there as well.
The leader's pitting now. Car inside. Still there, hold your line. Clear inside.
So we just hope somebody will make a mistake in front of us, really. Although it does look like a couple of the guys that we were racing are staying out, so we might catch up a bit of time on them as we go round. So you never know, we might not be dead last, we might actually have a position to race for at the end of this. I don't think so, but we might at least get a bit closer to them. But the disadvantage is, of course, they're going to have fresher tyres for the rest of the race now. So
the leader's pitting now.
It's not a perfect situation. In that case, we don't have too much pressure on us now. We can use this as a bit of a glorified test session in race trim. And just help us in the future, really. It's one of the things that a few friends have asked me, a few people have asked me about this kind of stuff, and it's like, honestly, you're going to learn a lot more running out on the racetrack than you are just doing practice laps. The big thing is you never know how fast you are until you actually start racing, because you might set a lap that's 4 seconds faster in a practice session. But the trouble is that's a practice session. You're on an open track, ideal situations. You don't have the track changing conditions. You don't have as much pressure on you. You know, you're not racing people, so you can keep your same line every single lap. You're not having to worry about cars lapping you, things like that. So you tend to be a little bit more chilled out in a practice session, and you don't have that tension, that bit of stress on yourself for it either. So it makes things a little bit easier in that respect. But you don't learn as much in a practice session. Yes, you can learn the track, you can learn the very best lines, you can learn how many laps you can do on a certain set of tyres. But in a practice session, as I say, you don't have a track evolution as much because you don't have as many cars out on the track changing the tyre conditions. You don't have marbles forming on the outside line, you don't have a dirty line forming, you don't have dirty air to play with. You're just literally going around and lapping a ghost car and lapping your own time. And you're not pushing yourself because you are lapping your own time, because you don't know how fast you are compared to other people. And yes, of course, you can get imported ghosts nowadays, and you can actually get things like that, so you can actually race somebody's somebody's ghost race or something. But again, that's not the same thing. When you're racing a ghost, it doesn't give you dirty air. You don't get a draft from it. You don't get tyre degradation when you're following it. You don't get a lot of downforce when you get underneath its rear spoiler. So again, you don't learn all that much from it, and you end up missing out on an enormous amount of things because of that. And it really can make a bit of a difference in how you go, because obviously, I've done 40 minutes of practice this afternoon in this. I don't tend to practice too much before the race comes, because I like to just go to a track practice when the practice session's there, qualify when the qualifying's there, and then race. But I could have practiced, 500 laps around here by myself, and I wouldn't have known that I was pushing too hard on my right rear, for instance, because I would have thought, well, everybody's going to have that same degradation. They might not have. People could have been eating away their left front tyre, for instance, or something strange like that, and you might be at a disadvantage eating up your rear tyre, so maybe it's better to eat up the front tyre. So again, you don't know this stuff until you actually race there. So again, it does make a bit of a difference. It does make a difference for everything, and it does
the leader's pitting now.
How much knowledge you have on a track, how much track evolution knowledge you have as well. So honestly, the best way to practice is go out there and do it. Obviously don't just jump straight in. Do take a bit of time to practice and get used to how things work and read up on the rules. And, I've not just jumped in this car without testing prior to see how I go in this rig, of course. I've tested this rig out before with these cars. And as I said, I raced the trucks on Monday night as well, so that gave me a little bit more experience on the oval racing side of things. It was at Martinsville, unfortunately, a track I despise. But, as I say, it's one of those things, if you don't do it, you don't know for sure.
Car inside. Clear inside.
And you don't get used to cars lapping you. You don't get that experience of having a car lap you. You don't have that pressure as well. Without that pressure on you, you do lose a fair bit of the actual feeling of racing, because you do have that thing of your heart starts beating faster, your eyes dilate more, you blink less, and it's harder on the body when you're racing as well, because you don't have that time to pause or to rest or to really just take a couple of moments take a breath, you know, or even think. You know, it's obviously you get better as you go, but when you first start, you've got to have that little bit of awareness that you don't have that mental strength, the lack of mental fatigue, I'd say, that you get when you're actually driven for a while. Because if you start racing for a while, you do get better and you do get less fatigue on yourself, you do get less a strain on your body, because you get what's called race fit. And it does make a difference to how you feel, how you drive. And as I said, in this I've learned I need to get my tyre wear better, I need to really practice on that. It's something I need to work on harder, is getting my tyre degradation down. Because at the moment it's pretty terrible. I'm definitely struggling with it. Question is, do we stay out a bit longer? Do we see if we can go the distance now, or do we come in again? Because I was getting a bit how you going at the moment. It's not quite comfortable to drive for sure. You know, there's really struggling on that right front again. That right front has just dropped off the cliff again on us.
Outside. Clear high. Outside. Clear.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna come in just for safety, just to be sure, just to get to the end without too much trouble. Obviously we're going to go quite a few laps down with this, it's not ideal, but again, I'm just using this as a bit of practice just to, well, see how we're going. Of course, practice pit stops and stuff you should do. You can see that right front's just dropped away quite a lot. The inner part of that right front tyre is just gone on us. And
okay, go.
obviously the other thing that's not helping us is that damage to the car. So obviously we've got that front right damage as well, which is just affecting the car's handling and the aero and all that kind of stuff. It's making the car imbalanced through the corners and just causing that bit more wear, things like that. So, you know, that's another thing as well in practice is, you know, you don't get used to running with damage. When you damage the car in practice, generally you pit and you get it repaired. You don't stay out there because you don't really want to drive around a damaged car. when you're in race, you don't have that luxury sometimes. So again, you have to drive around problems when they come.
Outside. Clear high.
Thank you, Lockie. You know, so again, it's one of those things, you don't get experience of driving a car with pressure and also with damage as much. And sometimes, you know, with a little bit of damage on some of these circuits, it doesn't really affect you too much. But I found tonight, obviously, early on I had much better pace than I do now. So definitely causing some damage there. You know, you can see how much I dropped off on my tyres as well. I just went off the cliff on that first stint. It's obviously something I need to work on a bit more for this car. Not too bad in the trucks. And honestly, when these first came out, I found I was quite good on the tyres. But now I'm finding I really need to change up my driving style a bit. Needs to be a little bit less rough and ready on the car, a little bit easier on the accelerator, a little bit more smooth on the steering direction, things like that too, because those are those things that really do affect tyre wear. Is, you know, any wheel spin you get, that's going to chew up the tyres. Extra turn you have to put into the corner, that's going to chew up the tyres. You know, and then when the tyre does drop off the cliff, it gets worse and worse much quicker. You can't really drive around it because, as you saw, we had no front grip from that right front earlier on. It was basically just a big bit of drag in front of us, just dragging us backwards. But now you can see just the car is just so much smoother through the corners, so much easier to get through the corners with. Less steering input you need to put in. The car just feels smoother, it just handles much better through the corner, and especially on the exit of turn 4, the car just feels much grippier. Obviously these cars are not exactly known for their great chassis balance.
Outside. Outside, clear. Inside, clear inside.
So, you know, they are big, wobbly, chunky machines from the 1980s. They're not these great, high-tech, lightweight, you know, low drag designs that you get nowadays with stock cars. You know, even though they're not what you call technologically advanced modern NASCARs, they are so much easier to drive than these beasts. Obviously you don't have a restrictor plate in this car, so the horsepower
Got 10 laps to go.
The horsepower is just ridiculous in this thing. It's got so many ponies under its bonnet, and the torque is just unbelievable. This thing just goes when it needs to. You know, it's not like anything else you ever even drive, really. You know, you've got the Xfinity, you've got the Cup cars, but they just feel so much slower in acceleration than these things. And these things are just so much more unwieldy. They're just really, really big, whaley, wobbly things. You have to get that roll rate right on the car as well, because obviously when you're pitching it in, you can see the suspension movement as well. see how loose it gets as well as it goes through that dip, on those bumps, on the exit of corners. It just wants to get away from you.
I have a puncture.
2 left to go. 2 to go.
So JCW was pushing it a bit too far then, so it's obviously not me that's struggling on tyres. I'm struggling the most, I'd say. But I am at least not alone.
You just got the white flag. That means 1 more lap to go.
In tyre trouble, so there's been quite a few punctures as well recently. I've seen a few people get punctures, and that's a fun new experience. Right, we're going to cross for a checkered flag.
Checkered flag, checkered flag. Great job. You did really well.
And post-race shenanigans, of course, the important bit. But yeah, that was not terrible. Good job, Ed. Could have been better. But not too upset with that, in all honesty. Not too upset with that. Let's just have a look. I think I was about 4 or 5 laps down at the end, so not great. 4 laps down, yeah. It's obviously not great in that respect. But qualifying, we got 7th with a very poor lap. So that's kind of, you know, it's one of those things that's just, you know, let's just go to the, let's go a few laps down, and let's go to the rear chase. So yeah, you can see that damage on the front there, and that definitely had a negative effect on the race for us. So yeah, it really didn't help us out in that respect. But as I said, overall, not too upset with all of that. Alright guys, thank you so much. I will catch you all again for the next race. Till then, this is me, Carl Squeezer, out. Bye bye.